Coming up, we're back out of the vault. Join us as we break down the first half of Fallout Season 2. Stay tuned.
I would be a good person too if I grew up in some cozy little impenetrable home. I would have to steal and stab and fib all the goddamn time just to get by.
Welcome to the Morgue, where we dissect the latest and greatest in the world of entertainment. I am your host, Arturo Padilla, and with me always is Mr. Nick Valdez. Before we get started, do not forget to subscribe down below, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell. Tex, how you doing, buddy?
Oh man, howdy everybody, howdy Arturo. We have a lot for today with Fallout Season 2. Man, has it? I don't think it's been that long since Season 1, thankfully. I think it really has only been like 1 or 2 years. I mean, everything's kind of blurring together at this point, but it really is like, I think because last year, what was it? No,
Yes.
last year we had Gen V and stuff like that. I think that's
Yeah,
why it
Season
feels
1
like
was
it's
in
been
2024 for
okay.
Fallout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Prime's pretty good about like keeping their shows going at a steady pace, compared to like some other streaming shows that make you wait like 3 or 4 years in between. Like, yeah, here we are for Fallout Season 2. And and it's great that I'm just gonna glaze Prime Video for a second. I mean, the corporation absolutely needs it, of course. But no, like they do like good recaps and stuff for all these shows too. Like
Yes.
the recap before Season 2, it's like, oh yeah, because it has been 2 years since Season 1. You might have forgotten some details, but like the recap's like, maybe, I don't know, it feels like it's 5 minutes long, but at the same time you get so much of that need, like, information you need to be like,
Yes.
oh yeah, that's what happened there, that's what happened there, that's that person's name, that's that character's name, and all that stuff. And it's like a much quicker transition into Season 2. Like, Lucy and the Ghoul are still traveling around after the end of the second season. They're still looking for her father, who's headed off to Vegas, and he's doing some wild stuff. At the same time, you have Maximus with the Brotherhood of Steel, and things are getting more complicated there. There's,
Yes.
his boss is thinking of starting a civil war, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with that. Yeah, and then you have this new guy, Robert House, who is behind all the technologies within this new, within that different alternate version of
Mhm.
American history and the world before everything went to hell. And at the same time, you also have Lucy's brother in the vault where he was
Mhm.
trapped in last season,
Yep.
and he's waking up all the old employees that were behind whatever grand plan is going on. So there's a lot to dig into with like these first few episodes, but thankfully that's part of what makes Season 2 so interesting,
Mhm.
because you kind of forget, right? Like, I kind of forgot how good Season 1 was, and then
Yes.
jumping back into Season 2, I'm like, oh yeah, this show's really good.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed 100%. Agreed on everything you said. The recaps, by the way, are super essential. I decided to just skip recap because I was like, oh, it's still kind of fresh in my memory. And then there was some characters. I'm like, wait a minute. I went back to the recaps, like, oh, the recaps give you a line of direction for the episodes. So
Yes.
every recap will focus on a certain character from season 1 that's coming back to do something different or special in this current episode or whatever. But I totally agree, man. Like, this show has a lot going on, but it's written very tight. Like, everything is
Yeah.
happening very well paced. I like the way it's unfolding in this season, especially for Maximus too. In the first season, Maximus's character was still very kind of uneven in terms of being a complete human being. So
Right.
he was very quirky, he was very odd, but he found himself at the end of season 1 with Lucy and became more of a character that you get more interested in. And now in season 2, he's in a whole different situation here. This season, Maximus' story takes a whole different turn than it did. It gives him a lot more action. It also makes him a character that now gets to be looked at in a different light. So at the end of season 1, Maximus got all this credit for killing Moldaver, and he's being praised now all through the first 5 episodes of season 2. And he's the Grand Conqueror now. He's the one that found the relic in order to bring some kind of order to this new world. And his father figure, Quintus, is the head of the Brotherhood. But the Brotherhood is like a whole bunch of different clans we find out in this season. Maximus, who looks up to Quintus as a father figure, he's over here trying to make sure that Quintus doesn't start this civil war. So the whole thing with Maximus now is that he found this relic at the end of season one after taking credit for the killing of Moldaver. And now this relic, which is, I believe it's cold fusion. It's supposed to like just control the world now, obviously offering tons of energy sources for weapons and power and all this stuff. So now Maximus's story, it gets to a point where it kind of falls in line with the A story, which is the story of the ghoul and Lucy. This other story with Quintus, man, I really text like I gotta say, I am very impressed with the way this writing of this season has turned out. I'm definitely captivated by this
Yeah,
story of
I
Maximus
think
and Quintus.
I think what helps it a lot too is you get like a brief spot from Kumail Nanjiani as
Yes, me
Xander.
too. Yeah.
He comes into like the third episode or so. He gets like a big standout. He's the emissary from like the larger half of the Brotherhood that
Yeah, the
that
Commonwealth.
yeah, and like that whole thing happens. He kind of turns into like at first he's like reaching out to Xander for like, oh, maybe you can betray Quintus and do all this stuff for us, and then all that stuff sort of falls out with him. But what I think you're onto something in that, you know, with every character we get this season, it seems more everything's weaved together better. And I think what helps that along is that because with all these multiple stories happening at the same time and everything to follow, what helps is that each time we're following somebody in an episode, there's something big happening, right? Like there's always, it always feels like there's something happening, right? Like every time we cut to Lucy, you know, Lucy's like either kidnapped by or she's yeah, she's kind of taken in by like the Roman people, and
Yeah, the
they're
legions.
also
Yeah.
yeah, they're also in like a civil war. And then like at the same time, like she's having like, although she started traveling with the ghoul, she's also like, okay, well, I want to save this random person over you. And then he's like, well, I want to, you know, he still needs Lucy, and there's all sorts of like complicated
Yeah.
stuff with that. And at the same time, all that stuff's unfolding, and we get that stuff look into his past, look into more of the Fallout world itself in this like made up version of America. And that's where it gets super interesting, because you're like, oh, you know, not only were they like this house guy, not only was he developing like robot technologies, but he's also was developing like this device to take control of people. And like, you know, you see like Kyle McLaughlin, he's back in action as like trying to reenact those experiments in the modern day post-apocalypse. So whatever he's doing is like connected to House and all this stuff that the ghoul was looking into in his past. And his wife was much more directly involved with the bombings than he ever expected. So he like there are so many things going on, but it never does feel like it's too much. It all feels
No, it
like
doesn't.
it's part of this cohesive world that like each time you see a scene, you're like, yo, this is it's such a cool world too. Like on top of that, right? Like because not only is the post-apocalyptic stuff cool, right? Like it's got to be right. That's Fallout's bread and butter. You got to make the apocalypse look cool, right? And you know, and each time we see something in it, you know, like Lucy, like there's some fun moments like where she ends up being addicted to drugs, you know, because of what how she's revived and stuff like that. And then you know, and then she acts different because of those drugs. And there's this stuff called a dick doll in order to like purge you from these drugs and stuff like that. And like, I'm pretty sure that that sounds like a game mechanic to me, right? I bet that's like a
Yeah,
thing in game. Like you probably
I
do
was
get
just
addicted
gonna
to a
bring
drug.
that up too. I don't know much of the game. It's still sitting in my storage on my PlayStation for me
Right.
to like dust it off and play it. But I don't know much of the game. I don't know if the show is following the game story faithfully. But what I can tell you is, as Tex mentioned, the way they are interweaving these characters and these stories are just so cohesive to the point where these hour-long episodes just fly by and you're just like on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, because the stories are just getting so interesting. and everything is leading up to just finding out what is going on in this world. All the
Yeah,
flashbacks, right? With Howard, aka the Ghoul, we get a lot of really awesome content with those flashbacks. We get great exposition on the universe and what is going to happen and how everything just turned out the way it is. Tex brought up Robert House, who's such an interesting character, and a great introduction into this world because he's freaking crazy, but he's like this like genius crazy guy who deals with robotics and he's doing mind control. And then Hank, Lucy's father, is also having the same mind control gadgets as well. And there's a scene in one of the episodes where once Lucy's dad, Hank, gets back into Vegas, he takes off the suit and everything. He gets all polished up. He puts on his own, like three-piece suit and everything. And then he just makes a phone call, which you're assuming it's to Robert House, who knows if he's in a cryostasis, if he's alive or dead. Who knows what the status of Robert
yeah,
House is? But things just
he
got super interesting, man.
yeah, it's on top of all this, Arturo. It's so there's just a lot of stuff going on. It's so intriguing. Like there's a mystery, right? Like I think that's the thing. Like in season one was more about like exploring the world, figuring out what this world looks like, and figuring out Lucy trying to get outside. And we were seeing the outside stuff for the whole time. So the big mystery of it all was that, oh, as we see Lucy finding out about the outside world, we'd see more of the outside world. It was the same thing for Maximus, right? Maximus, we'd see the Brotherhood and Steel stuff, but he was also trying to figure out how to be like a proper human being, right? And with the part with the Ghoul was okay. We'd see that side of the post-apocalypse, we'd see that side of the apocalypse, but then at the same time, we'd also see him as a human being and what was actually going on in the past. And in this time, we have a lot of stuff that like connects that tissue even more, like with the fact that Maximus, his parents were killed in the bombing, like we saw last season. Like he's the only survivor of the bombing. The bombing, spoiler alert, was through Kyle MacLachlan, Lucy's dad, who was like,
Yep.
as part of the general experiment, he kind of snuck off into a corner somewhere, set the bomb off, and like send the bomb to them. And like that's a whole thing that's so like it, and that whole scene was so cool too. Like it's
Yeah,
so
that was
like
the beginning of episode 2, I believe that was,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it was just such a huge emotional beat, in
yeah,
this Fallout world that I got choked up in there, and this is why I think Maximus's character got a heck of a lot more definitive in terms of characters in this universe, right? Because as I was
right,
saying earlier, in the first season, he's just kind of a silhouette of a soldier, right? Um,
right,
a soldier who's lost. But here we finally get this story, which elevates his character to a different place, I think, in terms of the lore now. So now you
right.
have an idea of why he's the way he is, how he was when we first met him, why he was so lost, why he was so distraught and just aimless, and then you get this whole other Maximus now doing some wild stuff, and I really love the story, and I cannot wait to see how that unfolds because he pretty much tried to kill Quintus,
Right.
completely failed, and now is on the run. So once again, just like in season 1, Maximus is on the run, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the Ghoul and we have Lucy who just finally got over her freaking addiction. Trying to get her to her father, but blocking the way to her dad are these freaking thing called what, demon claws or what,
Death
like
Claws? Yeah.
that, dude, these huge looking things. They were awesome, man.
Yeah, cool monster designs for those. Cause like in season one we had a lot more of that. I think because they were exploring a lot more of the
Mhm.
world, we had a
Yeah.
lot more like random, okay, here are the ghouls in this episode. Here is the big water slug thing in the, that was under the sewers or whatever in that first season. And then this time the only monsters we've really seen are like the death claws, which is like these huge like Godzilla looking things with like that are bipedal and like have huge claws and stuff, and apparently that the ghoul is even scared of, because during one of his missions, like back when he was a human, was back when they were also testing out the Brotherhood suits, which is very interesting too. On top of that,
Yeah.
it's like that's a cool part of the reveal that, oh, okay, so these technologies were developed pre-nuclear bomb and have somehow survived all of that stuff, and like they were used by the military, and that's why the ghoul, he was able to take out so many of them in season one, because he knows in and out of how those things operate,
Yeah.
and because he's been into them. And that whole scene where he once again, spoilers for the first like 5 episodes, we've already done enough or whatever, but like that scene with the commies, the Reds are like trying to
The
like take over
Pinkos.
Alaska's, yeah, and like they're trying to take over Alaska. They're about to kill him as he's in the suit that malfunctions, but they get killed by a death claw, and like it's cool
I
visuals.
mean,
And
but remember though, the suit doesn't malfunction. The commies
oh yeah,
ambush
they
him,
shot it. Yeah, yeah.
completely shoot him up, and the suit is completely down for the count. All he's just prone in the suit, the visor up, and then this death claw comes out of nowhere, which brings up more questions like what the hell's was going on pre-bomb dropping in the first
Yeah,
place? How we got this death claw, right? God damn.
yeah, the death claw, what is going on? Like, what does this America look like on top of that too? Because
Yes.
they're
Great,
like
great
in it
question.
all in all that stuff that like we're hearing about the past. Because the first season, when we were hearing about the past, we see that stuff. It was more about the setup to the vaults, right? Like it was
Yes.
set up
Mhm.
the it was more like finding out that they had this vault plan in place because they were planning to drop bombs, right?
Mhm.
But now it's like, oh, okay, the more we look into this world, we're like, oh, we're seeing the military. We're finding out that this version of Alaska was being invaded by communists, or whatever their versions of communists are, right? Like they just call them the Reds. That's the thing,
Yeah,
right?
the
They
Reds.
call them the Reds. Like it's part of this grander war that happened. There's also other factions like the New California Republic that's in the mix that like survived post bombings. And then this is why it's so like watching these episodes, it's like, yo, you have a huge world to draw from.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's huge.
now, yeah, now I'm starting to understand why people like because I'm not big on the Fallout games either. I'm not like an open world gamer. I don't really like that stuff. I like getting put into a hallway and tell me to walk down that hallway, and down that hallway you can either turn left or right, and then there are two corners at the end, right? Like I like limited spaces. I like going in, going out, playing for a few minutes and then leaving. But like with the open world stuff, I kind of understand it with Fallout, because I can assume that the more you're exploring this world, the more you're finding out all this extra lore, and all of that is it's just piling on top. It makes for such a good TV show, because
Yeah,
each time,
agreed.
yeah, like each time you're like you get an update on one of the characters, they're also evolving this grander plot that's happening, which is a lot more in place. Because season one, now that looking back on it, you're like, oh, okay, season one was just introductions and kind of introducing like the different factions and all that stuff. But season two is like, okay, now that you know everybody, let's throw in house, let's throw in all this stuff that like on top of the explanations we had. Once again, it's so interesting. Like it's just something about it makes me want to go back each episode. And the thing with Fallout is that, like, once again, I said before, where it's like you kind of forgot. I kind of forgot that Fallout was this good. But getting back into it, I'm like, man, it's really good, especially when you have Walton Goggins, who's like putting in the performance of his life with like
Yeah.
both halves, like especially you see more of his past, and you're like, yo, especially because his task, he's given a secret government mission to kill House, and then like you see him grapple with this, and then like in episode 5, it's also this whole thing with Lucy that he's grappling with in both the past and the present. It's just written so well, man. You're like, man,
Yeah.
this is just good TV, and good on Amazon Prime. Like they really do good TV. Like I can't lie. I don't think I've been like for a major, like I'm thinking back to like TV shows I've watched on Prime. I don't think I've
They've all
been
been
like,
pretty good, man.
yeah, I don't
The
think I've been
Boys,
disappointed. Yeah,
Gen V, Fallout, the new
yeah, you have
Batman Cape Crusader show, right?
yeah, like Reacher is another good one. Jack Ryan, like
Jack
they
Ryan
have
was good, yeah.
they have a lot of like, and
They got
this
some
is just
bangers,
kind of,
man. They got
and
some
that's the thing.
bangers.
Yeah, it's so funny taking this and like comparing it to like Stranger Things, right? Like I don't want to throw Stranger Things under the bus again, but like yeah, but like you watch a show like this and you get the sense that it's complete. Right, you get the sense that it's there's a plan in place. Someone is like
Yeah.
guiding you through each episode towards a certain destination, right? And I think that's what's so different about this. Like you're in it, I'm in it, and I'm down. Wherever they want to take us, I'm down.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree. I am strapped in for this ride. As I said before, there are so many characters and all their stories are just so captivating, especially now that you have all this backstory from season one. As Tex mentioned, that season one acts as a good primer for this one, because especially
Yeah,
as a person who wasn't attuned to that world or those characters or its rules, how it works, this show did a great job in making sure that the audience knows how this world works, how the law of the land is, you know what I mean?
right.
How Vegas works, how these ghouls work. We still don't know how Goggins became a ghoul, which is still what I'm really hoping to see. Maybe at the end of this season, who knows?
I
But
know.
I am also, speaking of Goggins, really enjoying his flashback work as, pre-ghoul Howard. I think he's doing a fantastic job. And as Tex mentioned, he's doing the best work of his life. And dude, I remember seeing this guy just pop up as just like random supporting actor guy,
Oh, dude, Walton
as like
Goggins is
random
dope. Like,
as criminal one or criminal two, you know what I
no,
mean? He
like
was always
Walton
that guy.
Goggins is dope. Like, just as a small aside, like check out Righteous Gemstones, check out Vice Principals. He's incredible in those shows. Like, he's such like a he is like Justified. I think that's what you were kind of getting to, right? Where he's like,
Yeah, that's where he got his big break, I think,
yeah,
where him and Timothy Olyphant went at it for a while, and I think that's where I noticed him at first. I was like, "Yo, I remember seeing you in, like, doing as a side character pretty much
yes,
everywhere." He was like that David Dastmalchian kind of actor where he
yeah,
was
yeah.
everywhere doing all kinds of work, and I'm glad he finally got his break in Justified, because the dude can put in the work. He can act, he's quality too, and he has wide range, man. This guy gives you the emotional beats, he gives you the action, he gives you, that bastard that you really want, the bastard you want to hate as well. And I'm so glad that he is involved to the point that he is. And he got a bigger workload for sure this time around, because they know that, hey, Lucy is great. This Vault thing is great, but the story here is with the ghoul and with Walter Goggins and his journey to finding his family here.
That is a fair point because Lucy has kind of taken a backseat more so this season compared to the Ghoul and Maximus, right? Because she's just still trying to hunt for her dad, and like this is kind of like when you're talking about like the other two getting evolved in terms of like what they're doing. Her thing is just like she's having some complications with the ghoul, but it's not as expansive as we're getting with it, or even her brother with like the whole stuff that was going on in the vault that he was in and the old experiment. We're about to find out more through him what's going on with the whole what they had planned for the vaults in the first place, right? But
Yeah.
with Lucy and her dad, I hope that's something that going into the second half, like I hope that's something we get more of. Like we get more of Lucy, we get more of her evolution, because yeah, like we kind of either need her to be more adjusted to the wasteland as the first season kind of teased, right? Like we
Mhm.
would like her whole thing was like, oh, okie dokie and all that stuff, but then
Yeah.
evolve into someone who can survive, right? But in this one, yeah, there's still a little bit of that old Lucy in there, right? And like
Yeah, like it's kind of annoying though, especially in that first episode where the ghoul and herself get into an altercation with some a huge scorpion and a bunch of little scorpions, and she decides to give the med pack, the stim pack to that weird cult woman instead of the ghoul over here who got stung by this huge scorpion. So it's like, wait a minute, like I thought you guys were traveling together. Why are you still thinking like that, Lucy? But it still goes to show that she still needs to evolve here, and there's still room for evolution. So we will get that at some point in this show because Lucy has to grow out of that very what's the word?
It's not naive. Like, it's not that she's
Yeah,
naive.
it's
It's
not
just like
naive.
she still has, it's principled in a way that doesn't like, it's still clashing with the world.
Yeah, her vault morals don't click with the real world morals, and that's
It's
where the
still very
issue
black
is.
and white, right? It's still very
Yes.
black and
Mhm.
white. It's still like not, it's still very cut and dry. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
save this person over the ghoul who will likely survive this, but whatever, right? And it's one of those things where, like, I hope that as we're like, our cutoff point here is about episode 5, and like, this hopefully will be something that is addressed when she starts confronting her dad directly and we get more of Lucy that way. But as we've been saying, this is why we spent so much of the conversation talking about the other two, because the other two kind of are expanding the world in some very like crucial ways. But
Yes.
like, Lucy herself is like, she's just not, to borrow that same word we've been kind of throwing around here dozens of times, she's just not as interesting as the
Yeah.
other two right now. And
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
that does need to change before the season wraps up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right too. Just to wrap up this conversation, you're absolutely right about the Ghoul and Maximus. These two characters now are giving us definitive information and exposition about this universe with
Yeah.
flashbacks and with their current actions. And I really, really enjoy the way everything is being written because, as I mentioned before, you get a lot of stuff going on, but it's so tight and concise that you're like, yo, this was very streamlined. This was very doable, very
Yeah.
watchable. And that's the thing, right? Going back to Amazon, very watchable show. That's what they really specialize in. And this is no different. And I hope that this show is going to be ending in a couple of weeks now or several weeks. I think maybe in 3 or 4 weeks. I hope that the ending to this season is as good as the first 5 episodes have been. I hope that everything kind of gives us a nice little payoff leading to season 3, maybe if they do get renewed.
Yeah.
But all that said, though, back to Amazon shows before we exit here. I can't wait for The Boys finale. I can't wait for
Yeah.
Invincible. Amazon has us locked in for kind of the like. Funny enough, we watch so many Amazon shows here at the Morgue that's like our go-to TV channel for the best episodic series
I
out
mean,
there, man.
I can't lie. They've
Right?
got it. If you want like genuine like nerdy content, like they have it. Like, you have, Apple TV is throwing off like prestige television in that sense, but like, if you want just good nerdy shows,
Yeah.
Prime really has it. Like, they really haven't let us down so far. And like, I think everything, like, I don't think we've seen a stinker of a season yet, and I think we'll get one eventually.
Of the
We're gonna
shows
get
we're
one.
covering, I gotta say,
Yeah,
of the shows we cover, because I know
yeah,
they
I'm
have
pretty.
like some other shows there that
Yeah, I'm
are some
pretty
duds.
sure.
So
Of course, it has its duds, right? Like, of course, right? Like, not every streaming service is going to be 100%
what was
perfect,
it? They
but
spent like
also,
millions and millions of dollars on that like fantasy show that didn't really work out, and then the Lord of the Rings show on top of that wasn't really a big thing.
right? Yeah, like,
The Rings of Power.
yeah, nobody really liked it. I don't, and then that's the thing too. Like, I don't know if it was like this is me speaking out of, I have no idea about Lord of the Rings, right? Like, I don't know if it's like because fans hated it or they hated something else, or was there a third thing entirely? Because there's always something that's like, can you trust why fans hated it? No, probably not, because there's always something else involved, right? Where it's like, it's
Like
never just
Aragon's
easy as
not in
that.
here. Where's
Yeah,
Aragon?
exactly. Like, it's never
Can
just
we
something
get
as,
Viggo Mortensen back here? Where's Orlando
yeah, like,
Bloom?
it's like, oh, do fans hate it because it's not this A, B, or C, right? And it's like, can you trust that hate? Can you trust the, like, or do you trust the fact that it's like, oh, they don't like it because A, B, like, there's so much of that. I don't know, like, what was it, Wheel of Time? I think it's what you were referring to,
Yes, that's
Arturo.
the one.
Like,
That's the one. Yes.
and that would just kind of like, didn't pan out for one reason or another. And it's just like, yes, they do have some stinkers, but in terms of what we've seen so far, what we're aiming towards, yeah, like hopefully Fallout isn't one of them, because that's the thing, they could very much fart on the way out the door. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see, folks. And stay tuned for that. Hopefully, we'll have another conversation for Fallout Season 2 in the near future. Thank you so much for listening. This has been The Morgue, where we dissect the latest and greatest in the world of entertainment. A big shout out goes to Delvirus for all the artwork you've seen in front of you throughout the years. And a big shout out goes to you guys for listening. Do not forget, you can hear all these episodes anywhere you get your podcasts, and as well on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and share. We have the whole catalog there, hundreds of episodes where you can watch us or you can stream us in your ears. And please, folks, always remember, it is a scary world out there, but we are here to walk you through it.